Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Grundy Park Leisure Centre for tonight's Championship Boxing, proudly presented by Jess Harding in association with Frank Maloney and Panax Promotions, and sponsored here by the Daily Star. All our officials have been appointed by the British Boxing Board of Control here present at ringside. So our first contest is in the middleweight division. Firstly, and introducing to you, fighting out of the blue corner, he's wearing the claret and blue trunks and weighed in at 12 stone and 3 pounds. He's taking part in his 39th professional contest. From Burnley, would you please welcome John Duckworth. And across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, he's wearing the white trunks trimmed with black, weighed in at 11 stone and 8 pounds. He brings an undefeated professional record of 13 contests, 13 wins, 12 coming by the way of that big KO. He's the undefeated current Southern Area middleweight champion, the Battersea Bomber, Howard Eastman. Our timekeeper is Mr. Bob Edgeworth. Our referee is Mr. Marcus McDonald, and this is 8 3-minute rounds.
Edgeworth and the rules of boxing don't explain to you one thing: obey my strikes at all times. Do you understand me, Eastwood? Do you understand me, Duckworth? Have a good one, lads.
Well, in the white trunks here, the man who calls himself the Battersea Bomber, Howard Eastman, who's won all 13 of his fights so far, 12 of them by knockout or stoppage, up against John Duckworth in the claret and blue, comes from Burnley, wearing the football colours of that town, and he's on a long losing streak of 16 fights at the moment. This, in fact, is a rematch. Eastman, last April, winning in 5 rounds the first time they met, and would be very much expected to repeat that kind of performance. He really is on the fringe now of the British title picture, this fellow Eastman. Can punch.
He can, and he'll be looking for a good performance tonight. I know he's really looking to get a British title fight as soon as he can.
Oh, gets him with a right hand, big right hand, and Duckworth down from just about the first real punch that Eastman threw.
6, 7.
He's up with the count at 8 from referee Marcus MacDonald, but already the big power of Howard Eastman making itself felt. It's already looking a mountainous assignment for John Duckworth, who hasn't had a win in 20 months, though he did in the past, when he was proving a little bit more durable, go the distance with the current WBC super middleweight champion Robin Reed.
That was a good right hand from Eastman. That will have seconded Duckworth to land so early in this fight. Duckworth's got height, got reach. He's got to try and use that just to keep out of trouble here.
Again, the right hand, and it's very much a survival mission for Duckworth at the moment. Eastman just biding his time, looking to line up the next piece of heavy artillery.
Eastman just feeling with the jab. He's got to try and just measure it right to try and get that right hand on. He's just looking for the right hand a little too much.
Right, stand right back, both of you. Box.
Yes, you get the impression with Eastman that now that he knows that he can deck Duckworth with that power, he's just looking for the knockout punch all the time and not really just boxing his way in. Can't really blame him for that much, can you?
No, you can't. Not with success so early. But now he's got to get back to his boxing, start landing the jab again, and just look for the room all over again.
Let's get out of there. Right, stand right back, double. Right back, son.
Eastman, who was born in Guyana but now based in Battersea.
Duckworth moving away from that right hand. He's constantly circling to his right.
Well, a knockdown in favour of Howard Eastman in that first round. And it was a big right hand that did the job in the opening seconds of the contest for him. He's won his last 11 by stoppage now.
Yes, and I think that's often a problem with punches. When they start to land, they start to look for that punch too much. This was a good punch. He just followed him around the ring, got him nicely in the corner. Duckworth just dropped the left hand. That was a good strong. It was a nice short right hand, but he really got some weight behind it. And you see landed flush to the side of the chin. Here we see it again from another angle, and you see he dropped his hand and got caught right in the corner. Needed to get out of the way quicker there, Duckworth.
Knocking on the door of the British middleweight title there. 14 punches landed to 3. Second round, white trunks then of Howard Eastman, who's had John Duckworth on the floor in round 1. Duckworth, who's from the Burt Myers camp up in the northwest. But he really has got his work cut out here if he's not to make it defeat number 17 on the bounce. Mind you, they've been putting him in some pretty tough fights. I think really he's got to the stage where they need to drop him down a level to let him get a win or two and maybe rebuild his confidence. It can't be doing him any good at all, really, to keep coming in at this kind of level and getting blown away.
That's right, they're just keeping him in too high a level. Obviously he himself will be after making a little bit of money, but he needs to drop down and try and get a couple of wins under his belt and just regain a little bit of confidence.
Eastman hasn't really built on that good start. He's not throwing too much by way of leather, is he?
No, he's just standing back. He's just looking for the open target. Duckworth, you know, credit to him, he's trying to keep his target on the move and just flick out that jab just to keep Eastman busy. But Eastman's got to close the distance down and start loosening up and putting his punches together quicker.
Just looking a bit right hand happy as well, isn't he?
Yes, he's almost forgot the left jab, and you know, he needs that to get the distance right. He's got to start landing that powerfully, and then he'll get his right hand on.
Duckworth is very wary of that right hand. Made to miss a long way with his left hand, and there was a sort of grimace of self-recrimination on his face as he did so.
And Duckworth he's unable to keep Eastman at bay because he's throwing, he's almost just pouring his southpaw jab out, and really he needs to put a bit of power on that just to keep Eastman off balance.
Duckworth actually has a 9-pound weight advantage here. He's at 12.3 against 11 stone 8 for Eastman. And 3 weeks ago, Duckworth was weighing as much as 13 stone 5 when he was beaten by Noel McGee. So he's taken off, if those figures are right, over a stone.
And that's an awful lot of weight to lose in just 3 weeks. So whether he's in that last fight he got weighed with clothes on or what, I'm not sure.
Possible. In the past he has proved himself reasonably resilient, Duckworth, and able to give decent fighters a bit of a run for their money. But of late things have been going very much against him. But Eastman here, since that very good start, not really that impressive.
No, Eastman just been fiddled out of it a little bit. He needs really to impress in a fight like this. He's already stopped Duckworth, and obviously he wants to do it again, but probably this time a lot more impressively. There's his very good record, 13 fights with 12 KOs.
Yes, the only man who's gone the distance with him was Andy Peach over 6 rounds in his second fight. Trains with his brother Gilbert. In the other corner, John Duckworth, whose record now reads 10 wins against 23 defeats and 5 draws. He's been a pro since 1992, but his last win was in June 1995. Been stopped on 8 occasions, and Eastman will expect to do that again tonight with him. Third round of this middleweight contest, the white trunks of Howard Eastman and John Duckworth from Burnley in the claret and blue.
You see again Eastman just looking to rely on that right hand a little too much and be made to miss there.
Already the Southern Area champion, Howard Eastman, and certainly in the coming months, maybe the next year, he would look to be getting a fight with the British champion Neville Brown, should Brown decide to hold on to that title. Maybe Robert McCracken, the Commonwealth champion. There's Glenn Catley, of course, on the scene too. Is Eastman ready for those kind of fights? He switches to southpaw for a moment.
This is a little difficult for Eastman because Duckworth's been very, very negative. He's almost pouring with that left jab, and then he's looking to survive in close. So it's just a little difficult for Eastman to puzzle him out and get the punch on. But I think he's just depending and looking for the big punch a little too much. He'd do better just to try and loosen up and get his combinations going.
Well, he's trying something different here by leading with the right hand. Maybe try to engineer some different kind of angles, but I think it's a sign that he is being frustrated and messed about by Duckworth, who's just grown in confidence after his torrid start. Slapping kind of blow with the right hand, that one from Eastman. Heads coming dangerously close together there.
Eastman was just trying to pick up the pace a little there, but still he's just falling short with his punches, just a little too wild.
Oh, again the right hand just blocked at the last moment, that by Duckworth, who did well. This fellow Eastman has had some good wins though, in one round over Paul Wesley, who's given a lot of good fighters some trouble. Beat Sven Hamer in 10 and Carlo Colarusso in one round, and Colarusso has a victory over Glenn Catley to his credit. These are all good wins. Here he's struggling to look good at the moment.
Yes, I think there's no doubting Eastman's punching power. He can bang a bit, but he's still got a few things to learn. He's just looking to punch a little too much, and at times you may have to box to find your openings when you move up into a higher class.
No, Duckworth covering up well. None of those got through. Well, John Duckworth was breathing quite heavily as he went back to the corner. What do you think they're saying to him, Glenn?
Well, I think things are not looking good for Duckworth. He's doing his best just to cover up, and he's managed the big punches from Eastman there he took, but you know, Duckworth's not landing a great deal of punches. 15, I don't think any of them were really with any sort of force, where Eastman, he's landing with some solid punches.
Yeah, Duckworth's only had 5 knockout wins in 38 fights, which tells its own story.
Yes, the jabs, he's just flicking with the jabs. He's got to try and put a little bit of power behind that punch if he's going to try and keep Eastman off balance.
Corner, 10 seconds.
Just wonder if there's a bit of a motivation problem for Eastman as well here. He's already beaten Duckworth once. He may be thinking, what have I got to do it again for? Fourth round. I think Eastman's got to that point, hasn't he, mentally? I mean, he's 26 years of age now. He's clocked up 13. Of course, in the old days, fighters had much longer apprenticeships, but he's already kind of bursting to get some kind of title opportunity now.
Yes, I think motivation can often be a problem at this stage. As you say, he's 26. He's probably almost ready for a big fight, and I think that will probably bring the best out in him. You say he's already beaten Duckworth before, and he probably find a little difficult just to get motivated for this one.
Well, he's tried switch hitting and going southpaw. Now he's back to orthodox again. Doesn't use the jab much, does he?
No, he doesn't. He relies just on defense. He tries to pick the punches off and then just looks for his own big one. But his style certainly has proved effective thus far in his career, and on the majority of occasions he's managed to find the big punch before the end of the fight.
And as we've said earlier, he's certainly not had a whole lot of easy matches. I mean, the opponents, Wesley, Hamer, Colarusso, that's reasonable level in the first 13 of your pro career. Well, Duckworth being allowed to hold on and buy some time as they worked inside there. Marcus McDonald might have been a bit quicker in there.
Yes, it's very, very negative stuff from Duckworth. He's not really getting off with a lot of punches. And it just feels a matter of time before Eastman can close the distance down and start to really unload with his heavy shots.
Well, I must say, I thought early on here this was going to be quick.
Right, let him up, let him up, right up, box.
Two right hands getting through there, and again Duckworth holding on for dear life.
And again, the referee could have been in a little quicker just to keep the action flowing. Duckworth just managing to break the work of Eastman up.
I'll tell you what, Jackie Pallo would have been proud of that last hole. Still not really managing to land too much cleanly, Howard Eastman. It could be that he'll just drive one through and finish the argument.
Well, Duck was very negative, dropping the head very low. He couldn't really be told about that, and also he's holding too much.
Well, towards the end of that last round, Howard Eastman started to do some better work to the body, upped his work rate a little. He needed to. He probably thinks he's on a bit of a hiding to nothing here.
Yes, but at this stage of his career, he's got to still look good. He's got to get his opponents out of the way. So, you know, the corner's got to try and motivate him in there. They've got to try and get him to throw these combinations. There's one that he gets to. But you see there how low that Duckworth is ducking down. This is where the referee could really just tell him, you keep your head up.
Everything so far to Howard Eastman. Fifth round of this middleweight 8-rounder. Fringe British title contender Howard Eastman in the white trunks against John Duckworth in the claret and blue, and there's Glenn's scorecard.
Yes, everything to Eastman, and a big first round with the knockdown. But still yet he's not really impressing. He needs to get on the boil a little bit more, lift up the pace, just really go for it more and let the punches go.
It's not the kind of performance so far, this, from Eastman, that's going to send the punters away from here raving about him and telling their mates about him when they get back to the office or wherever they're working tomorrow morning.
But I think if to read into the story, we've got to realise that Duckworth is very, very much in the survival mode and just making it difficult for Eastman to land with his shots. There's not really a lot coming from Duckworth to try and get a win here.
Going to the body more, Eastman now. Just called off balance more than anything a moment or so ago. Duckworth, who in this phase of his career, has to be said, it does look, doesn't it, as if his ambition has run dry totally.
Yes, very much. I think certainly he needs to drop down a level and trying to get that ambition back and trying to get a few wins under his belt.
This is the round that Eastman managed to beat Duckworth in last time they met 10 months ago.
You see in close, the hands were just grabbed, unable to allow Eastman to work there. If it's just got to be a little bit quicker to pull them apart.
Well, it's no glory night this for Howard Eastman. Remember that Duckworth was stopped in 2 rounds by Ryan Rhodes, the current British light middleweight champion, in 1 round by the prospect David Starry, and in 3 rounds by Glenn Catley, the man who's waiting to get at Neville Brown for the British middleweight title. Eastman has not been able to do the job as quickly.
Well, I think that the thing that Eastman needs to work on in his training is picking up the pace and fight. He's fought the majority of this fight at the same pace, walking forward, looking for the punch. He's got to be able to mix the pace up a little.
He's obviously heavy-handed, Eastman. But is he neglecting his boxing skills a little? Well, Duckworth's lasted longer this time. Well, 1 round very much like another at the moment. There we are. There's the fight total. Eastman's thrown 157 and landed 62. Duckworth's thrown 133 and landed only 23. So better punch economy for Eastman. No surprise there.
No, a lot of Duckworth's punches, there's very little in them at all. He's really just flicking them out, and they'd be hard to count them as scoring punches.
I must say, the one surprise to me is that Duckworth has thrown 133 punches.
I'm a little surprised. I think he's placing punches out there. They're not really good scoring punches. He's just laying the arms out there, and there's nothing behind them.
Sixth round then, and John Duckworth not really performing here as if he wants to win the fight, simply as if he just wants to hear the final bell. The onus very much on Howard Eastman to produce the fireworks. Started off well enough.
Right, lads, right out, right back.
Duckworth down in the opening, what was it, half a minute or so. Not much since. Well, it has to be said, he's a disappointment here, Eastman, isn't he?
He is, yes. He hasn't shown anything particularly exciting. He needed to pick the pace up. He'd already hurt Duckworth. He then had to show he could finish in a very quick style to really be impressive. He's been allowed to be fiddled about in there, and Duckworth's done well at just surviving.
Well, Duckworth just trying to fend Eastman off. You wouldn't really call them jabs he's throwing out to do it. He's just sort of pouring out the glove. Eastman lacking real variety and ideas and looking a bit one-paced.
Yes, he just seems to lack what we say in the game, the snap. He's not really snapping his punches out nice and quick and trying to rattle off combinations. He's just you know, his punches are a little bit laboured and he's showing them from a little bit far out, and I think he's just had a bit of trouble getting motivated for this fight.
Just a little sign of a grazing underneath the left eye of Duckworth. Nothing much for him to worry about. Yes, I think what's really missing from Eastman's performance more than anything else is devil and fire, but that could come, of course, if he was presented with a more significant fight.
Yes, you said earlier, Ian, he's pretty much on a high to nothing in this fight. He's already beat Duckworth in very good style, and he probably just feels, you know, why am I doing all again? I think he's looking for a much bigger fight than this.
Just slowing down a bit here, Duckworth. He's blocked a lot. Some of them are beginning to catch him, like that left hand.
Duckworth looking a little more tired now, leaving himself a little bit more open to punches.
It's really just a question now whether Eastman can force a stoppage. It's due to go 8 rounds and we're in round 6. Well, this fellow has won 5 of his 13 contests inside the first round, one of them in 55 seconds when he beat John Rice. But he's finding Duckworth to be a frustrating opponent. Body shots landed. Eastman 26, Duckworth 6. Well, that figures.
But Eastman, at the end of the round, it just looked as if Duckworth was starting to tire. Eastman, for the first time, getting through the gloves a little more, just starting, you got the sense that he was just starting to Duckworth as the bell went at the end there.
Made to miss again there. 7th round of 8 then, just to remind you that Howard Eastman in the white trunks, unbeaten in 13 so far, 12 by stoppage. And John Duckworth in the claret and blue. He lives at Nelson in Lancashire, but fights out of Burnley. Good body shots, and they have their effect. Down for the second time in the 7th.
5, 6, 7.
He's hurt, Duckworth. He might not get up. He won't. He's knocked out. Round 7. Took 2 rounds longer this time. Results the same, though. Howard Eastman chalks up another stoppage win, his 12th in a row. And it was body shots that did the job for him in the end. But it was not a night, really, where Howard Eastman ripped up too many trees.
No, he got the job done. It took a little longer, but it was just a steady pressure. He really needed to shine a little more, but at the end he got a couple of decent punches on, a little short right, and then a very good left. You see, he digs them in. He really picked his punches well then. They were very, very hard punches, and it didn't look as if he was ever going to get up. You see, the right goes in. He just takes a little step, finds a little gap there, and then round to the side. Good, hard, solid body punches. And he shows that, you know, he has got the power, but I think he was just struggling there in that fight just to get a little bit motivated. But the finish was a good one with a couple of nice body punches.
There were a whole series of them leading up to that, and Duckworth could take no more and showed no inclination to get up. Eastman has won again, 14 out of 14 for him.
Ladies and gentlemen, 30 seconds into round 7. On a count out, your winner and still undefeated, Howard Eastman. Appreciate your appreciation. A very game loser indeed, John Duckworth.